Hello, I'm Lori LaRose. I have Active Stamping here on the YouTube channel as well as a Facebook page where I do lives most weeknights at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. I also have Instagram where I take that card that takes me about an hour to create right at that moment, winging it every time. And once I have all the pieces, I just throw it into a 20-second reel. So if you just like instantaneous, then that's where you should check me out, is my reels over on Active Stamping on the Instagram. So I'm going to step through. I was doing a class and a couple of the gals couldn't come, so I was working on a little video. Pretty bare bones. I'm just going to show you the foundations kind of how to do the cuts and the folding of the cards. So this is the third card that I was doing. The other video has two of them, and this one has the third card. It has just a couple extra cuts, so we'll get going with that. All right, so we need to have a piece of paper that is 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to bring this over. We're going to line it up at the 1, and I like to line it up at the 1 on this side if you have that option, just because it gives me all this stability when I'm cutting. And then I'm going to cut between 1.5 and 7 on both sides. So 1.5 down to the 7. I'm going to turn it over, and because it's equal on both sides, I'm just going to cut from the 7 up to the 1.5. And then I'm going to do a series of scoring. So when I bring it into the 1.5, I'm going to get rid of the blade altogether, and at 1.5 I'm going to score between the lines. I'm going to bring it over to 2 3/4, and I'm going to score between the lines. So I'm either scoring between or outside of the lines. At 4 1/4 I'm going to score outside of the lines. And I'm going to go to 6 and score between the lines. And my 6 3/8 is kind of sneaky, but I'm hoping it's right around there. I'm going to score outside of the lines there. And then when I come over to 7, I'll close up and score in between the lines there. Okay, so you have this sneaky little guy like that. And well, I have this here right now. I'm going to bring in a piece of designer paper. I chose from the Dandy Designs this piece because I'm hoping that it'll be pretty fun to make a whole series of these cards. If it's directional, your direction, the height of the directional is the 5.5. Let's just double check that, because I'm like, no, that's not right. 5. Wait a second, that's not right. Did I do this incorrectly? Hold on. Oh, for goodness sakes. 5 1/4 by 7 3/4. And I did not cut that 5 1/4. Why didn't I cut that 5 1/4? What was I thinking? Oh, yeah, by 7 3/4. I did do that one right. Let's go see if I have another piece of this. Sorry about that, you guys. 5 3/4 by 7. Then I gotta find the paper. 5 3/4, 5 1/4 by 7 3/4. I'm not quite sure how or why I did that, but I'm glad I caught it before I did it all. This can just be a nice piece of paper. What do they say? Measure twice. It's funny because it just, how could a 1/4 inch make that much difference? But anyways, by 7 3/4. Okay, so if you have a directional, like if I wanted these stripes to be this way and not running this way, basically, just make sure that you're aware of that, because this is going to layer over top of this card, right? And it's not going to look right. You're going to be like, what? It can't be 7 3/4. Are you sure that's right? Yes, I am, because you're going to add 1/4 inches as you get going there. So that's all perfect. All right, this guy, I want this side to be up. So I'm going to, what we want to do is cut out basically the center piece of this paper. So we're going to line this guy up at 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to cut it we are going to cut it from 6.5 to 1 1/4. Sorry about that. I don't have my very clear instructions here, basically. So at 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to cut, I need my blade, we're going to cut it at 1 1/4 to 6.5. So 1 1/4 down to 6.5. I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing. Then I'm going to go up from 6.5 to 1 1/4, and I'm going to turn this around and at 1 1/4 inches I'm going to cut it. I just did this, and do you think I'm like, oh, is that right? Yes. So at 1 1/4 I'm going to cut between 4.5 and 3/4 of an inch, basically. I turn it around, do the same thing, lining this up at 1 1/4 over here. Basically, I'm just cutting between the lines. And then hopefully it just pops out. So nice. Now you're going to cut this. Your first cut is going to be a 5 7/8, and that'll keep everything in place. You do need to hold this down, because as you go to cut through, you're just cutting through these two little tiny pieces. So when you go to cut through them, they want to wiggle around a little bit. So you have one piece. Move this over to the 4. And again, just want to make sure that it stays. Ooh, see, that's what you don't want. Hang on, I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. And you're just going to cut that. You do want these two little pieces. They are part of the game. And this is your big piece. So now we can move this over here. And we can bring this guy in. So now as you go to fold this, it's just going to take a few seconds to kind of work it. Don't really get crazy and forcing it. Don't get, oh, which way's which. It all will kind of come together, and the folds can go either which way. But basically, you're just going to keep working it, just slowly, making sure that it all comes into place, okay? Now, I will tell you, it doesn't lie down perfectly right off the bat, and I'm not quite sure. This is the one that we're going to fix by like a 1/16 of an inch. And so scoring wise, I'm not even sure which side you're supposed to score it on, but I'm going to fold and crease this guy. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And I've just got these guys kind of, and what you'll see is they don't want to quite come over. And so all I'm going to do, I do want these two to be nice and folded. And then I'm just going to hold on to this nice and firm here. Bring this over. This is going to buckle. I think you can see that. And I'm just going to squash it down. And when you take a peek at it, it is basically just a hair off the score line. And so it all works out nice. And that way then it'll lie down nice and flat to mail. And you can crease all your corners and you're a happy gal, basically, right? Now you're going to glue this guy on here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that, which I glued the other pieces down as well. And in my other 2 cards that I made. So we made 3 fancy fold cards in the class, and had sort of some fun doing it. So I'm going to lay this guy on here. And he does come right up to the fold line, so I kind of like that personally. And then I'm going to fold these little guys. Now, whether you have this one way or the other, I'm not sure if it matters, but it's going to work out. I am going to go with that. And he's got a big gap. This is leaving a 1/4 inch all the way around kind of thing, right? So you've got some borders, except for the one off the one edge. And like I said, I like it. I'm going to show you 2 examples of how I dressed it up after I get the pieces in. but, and I do have PDF for this that I sent out to the classmates. So if you think you would like to make this card and need some further details, touch base with me and I can get you hooked up maybe, depending on how late you see this. So that again, that's going to be here. So I'm going to bring this guy over here. And then you have these 3 panels that you'd like to put some stuff in. And I have cut, this is a kind of an odd rectangle, just FYI, little note. It's 3 1/4 inches tall versus the 3 inches wide, which normally when you see a rectangle, it seems like it runs the other way. Like this is longer than it is tall kind of thing. This one is the opposite way. And it's so weird, but that's right. So if you cut a piece 3 1/4, then you can cut off one piece that's 3 inches and one piece that's 1 inch and one piece that is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so you'll have 3 pieces. And again, you want it to go the tall way instead of the long way. I have to talk myself through this constantly because it's like quite consistently feels weird. So this is a 3/4 inch one on this side and a 3/4 of an inch one on the other side as well. Or no, sorry, an inch. I don't know why I haven't said that. I went to La La Land. I'm actually thinking about, I'm actually going to decorate this. Is that going to work? It'll take a little bit of time. That is hardly an inch. I feel like I didn't cut that quite an inch, but anyways, we'll put it in there for now. All right, it is supposed to be an inch. Let's put it that way. So there's your base of your card. Sorry, I'm not in the line there. Oh, this is really pretty together. So the way the card in the class was, I sent out the circles, and then you could put some little extra guy over here, and that is as simple as it was. It's a very simple card, and it sits so nice when it's on. I had earlier made this example, and so this little guy tells a whole little story. So I've got, yes, a feature down here, but instead of just words, I have a whole nother scene going on and carried it over all the way over. So a completely different card, but also fun. So this one, I actually have a few pieces to decorate with, and it's sort of somewhere in between. So I brought in a saying, and I actually should grab some dimensionals. And this is from An Amazing Year, and I'm going to put this guy on there. I fussy cutted him out, and I fussy cut out just a couple of the flowers, and the words are from this set as well. So I added the birthday wishes, and I'm just taking off all of the dimensional guys. So you can make the words a little bit fancier or just with a bow as I did on the other one. And I square him up on here a little tiny bit. Okay. And then this little guy, I'm just going to put one little tack down, but I am actually going to dimensional him as well probably. But I'll just tack him down here for now. So I will say this does fit in an envelope. You might want to be careful how much pokes out here, or else he won't go in a regular envelope. So you might want to be a little careful of of that. But if you're hand delivering it, then obviously you can have a bigger envelope and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, just be a little bit aware that this card does fit in a regular envelope the way it is. So just be aware. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm totally off screen. And so then that is that particular card. So just a slightly different dealio with a flower there instead of a bow. The final touch of this is a 3 1/4 by 3. And I would put on the back here, and that way then you have just another place, not another, but a place to put your greeting to my friend from me. And again, I would probably stamp it before I added this on. You could add a whole nother layer on underneath here if you wanted, but I don't think you need to. And that way then your card is finished quite nicely. All right, so little guy on there. So again, from the class, we used the DSP. I have the punch, so I stamped actually, but you could also, from the DSP, you can fussy cut a couple flowers and put on the corner there. And another alternative is a crazy, fun, busy one with a whole story being told. And in this case, just fun with the dandy designs, and just another one. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you are inspired to make lots of beautiful cards.